Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome to the 2022 Commander series videos. In this series, I will go over all of the commanders that I have one by one. All of these commander here. Uh, and I will share with you guys what I think about the commander. And at the end, I will give you guys some of the recommendations or my advice on whether or not you should be getting the commander or not still. So for the first video today, we will start with Alexander the Great. Okay, one of my favorite infantry commander. Uh, so we will rate him based on DPS, utility, tankiness, mobility, and expertise. Okay. I think it is very important for you to know that for you to break down the commander in this category when you think about like if you should be investing in the commander or not. So let's go back into the game here. Okay. So Alexander is a great, right? So his first skill, at level 5, you get 1200 shield for 4 seconds. And actually let's go back into the rating here. So so let's talk about DPS first for Alex, okay? So for now, we just talk about DPS only on the commander. So let's go back into the game here. Like what can give Alex DPS, okay? So for Alex, his second skill have a 10% chance to deal additional damage to the target 1700s, which is pretty high. So like when you think about some of the other commander with like a skill damage single target, like let's say Chow Chow, Chow Chow can deal only 1400s, right? But it's guaranteed every cycle for hitting. Alex, on the other hand, he had 10% chance, so it had a lot to do with RNG. But you can say that 10% chance means that you can cast this skill on average 1 every 10 seconds. And on average, right, a skill cycle is about like 7 to 8 9 seconds. Okay, so it's almost like every skill cycle there. So you can deal 1700 damage on a single target, which is pretty good. So that is one of the skills that can bring up Alex DPS. The next one is the third skill, right? The third skill also gave Alex a 30% attack bonus stats increase. So when you get more attack stat, it also means that you can do more damage to the enemy. When it comes to a normal attack or counter attack damage, right? That attack stat increase, boosting up your DPS, right? So which is also pretty good here. Can give him more DPS here. Uh, so when he's not shielded, okay, when Alex is not shielded, he's gained an additional 40% attack, okay, and when he is shielded, he get 30% defense instead. And shield doesn't last very long on the battlefield, so you can say that overall, right, Alex getting almost 70% attack, almost 70% attack increase all the time, which is very high, right? There's not that many commanders that can have very high attack increase like Alex has. So like 70% attack increase, 1700 skill damage to a single target, and additionally, his expertise also gave him that additional 30% damage increase overall when he casting his active skill, right? So in terms of DPS, Alex have a 3 skill that gave DPS, right? Actually 4 skill, right? 4 skill. First skill gave damage. Second skill gave 30% attack increase. Fourth skill gave 40% attack increase as well. And the expertise gave additional 30% damage increase, okay? So like when it comes to DPS, okay? When it comes to DPS for Alex, he is definitely uh somewhere between an A tier or a S tier, okay? It's a tough one, right? The thing about Alex is that he has DPS, but it's single target. But his DPS is very high and his attack is very high as well. Uh, maybe a S tier. Maybe a S tier for Alex. It is a S tier or A tier. So let's give him a S tier for DPS here, because if you look at it, if you go back into the game, right, he has very, very high single DPS, very, very high attack increase, and very, very high damage boost as well, right? So when you add all of these up, it could increase his damage by a lot. So like, definitely like an offensive commander for infantry player. All right, maybe we're gonna make some adjustment at the end. We'll see. Okay. So for utility, okay, utility we are talking about like support, right? Like debuff, buff, what can bring to the team, which is utility. So for utility, we gotta go back into the game, right? So what can Alex bring into the team? So for his active skill, he provide a shield to some of your marches, right? So you can see right here. In the meanwhile, he put up a smaller shield for the allied troop, including his own troop, with the lowest percentage of unit in the circular area of effect. So one marches. Let's say if you run 5 march and one of your march has the lowest HP, that march will get the additional shield. Okay, so this is what utility can bring to the open field, to the fight. Okay, he doesn't like this effect also work on himself as well, but it does not work in a 1v1 situation because shield do not stack. So the small shield here will not work when he casts his active skill, right? So this one only work when you in a scenario where you have a many more marches on the field. Okay. So which is a pretty good here, right? Pretty good show here, right? So that is one utility. The next one, he also has that healing effect reduction. Nowadays, not that many commanders that can heal, right? So it's like a small utility there. And not many people using like back in the days, yeah, Richter, right? You can prevent Richter from healing, which is a lot. But nowadays, right, the healing effect reduction, it's still a good debuff, but it's not that like effective anymore on the field. Next one we going to have the expertise of Alex. Okay, so Alex expertise. Alexander gain a shield, lasts for a second, which can absorb a large amount of damage factor tolerance, and during the effect of this shield, up to 3 enemy troops in the circular area take 30% increased damage for 4 seconds. Okay. So what does it mean in like a murder boss situation? Let's say 3 marches getting additional 30% increased damage. Those march going to get more damage from your marches, but at the same time, they are going to get more damage from your ally marches as well, right? So like unlike buff, only limited to like 5 marches that you have. So for example, like Joan of Arc buff, right? Or Mulan buff, they only work for 5 marches maximum. The limit is 5 marches that you have. But for debuff is different. Debuff work for every single marches on the battlefield. Okay, your ally, if they're hitting on the marches that got debuffed by your Alex, then they are also going to get that 30% increased damage, right? So it's just not working for your setup, but it also working for your team. Okay, so Alex is still one of the very good commander to bring to the open field just because of his debuff here, a circular debuff, right? You know, some of the other commanders they have that like a smaller fan shaped debuff, right? Like Richter, like Guan, right? But Alex is a circular debuff, right? So you can get debuff like pretty much everywhere within the radius of the circle. A very strong debuff there. Well, I would say one of the must-have debuff in a lot of like open field or murder boss situation. Okay. So support utility, right? Utility, I definitely rate him as S as well. So he brings shield to the team. He brings that 30% damage increase debuff. Which is a lot, right? Alex bring a lot to the team. So that is utility. So let's talk about tankiness. Like tankiness is your ability to last long on the field, the ability to handle swarm. Okay, a lot of time when it comes to murder fight, sometimes you had to handle swarming, and sometimes you also had to handle the additional AoE skill damage coming from the enemy tube as well, right? So can Alex handle swarm or like other AoE skill damage from the enemy? So let's go back again to the game here. So his active skill gave him a 200 shield, right? A 200 shield doesn't last very long on the field, like to be honest. When you're talking about like a murder boss situation, like a 200 shield probably lasts you like a second or 2 seconds. Okay. Hits force skill. When he is shielded, he gains 30% increased defense, right? So he only get 30% defense when he's shielded. And as I mentioned, right, the shield often doesn't last very long, probably around 1, 2, 3 seconds. So most of the time, not like most of the time, I would say 70% of the time, he does not get the 30% defense. And especially like for situation when you like, let's say if you kind of like go too far inside the enemy territory and you kind of like want to run back a little bit. When you're running back, you will not gain the 30% defense. When you're running back, you're not actively attacking on someone and your shield is probably not active. So you pretty much have a no defense. You have a no defense and you have no shield. Okay, so in some of those situations like that, when you are not like actively attacking on someone, you don't have that shield up. You don't have any defense. You're not that super tanky. Okay, when it comes to Alex. So Alex tankiness is not that great. So let's go back into the rating here. And for Alex tankiness, like he's not horrible because of the shield, but he's not that great. So I'll give him a B rating here for tankiness, just because he has that 200 shield, and when he shielded, he gets that 30% defense. Like if you can manage to get Alex to like constantly attacking on someone and can constantly manage to keep his shield up, then hey, he's pretty decent, right? He's not that squishy. Okay. But in situation where you just like running away, okay, so like one thing you need to know about Alex is that you need to get his shield up for his defense to activate. So like let's say in situation where you kind of like pulling back and then the enemy chasing after you, make sure it's better for you to stay back and fight. It's better for you to stay back and fight than you running back. A lot of time I see people just keep running and then the enemy march just swarming you down and you die, right? So like sometimes you have to know that when to stay back and fight and to take advantages of your skill than just to keep running and getting wrecked, right? So like when Alex keep running, he will not get any defense, and that is when you're going to take a lot of damages, right? And if you know that, okay, in some situation you know that, okay, you cannot run away, you cannot outrun the enemy, it's better for you just to stay back and fight. Okay. So let's go back into utility here, the mobility. Okay, mobility is how fast a commander can be, like how fast he can how fast can you get to the destination, like how fast can you get to where you want to be. Okay, so let's go back to the game here. We have Alex with 30% infantry march speed bonus, which is a lot. Okay, so like in terms of mobility for infantry, Alex is probably the fastest infantry commander till now, right? But when we rating mobility, we have when you rating mobility, okay, right? That is when that march speed bonus coming from, and the mobility, right? When it comes to like testing, right? I see a lot of commander. I see a lot of people doing like a 1v1 testing, and they don't take in consideration of the mobility, right? Mobility is very very important, especially in open field fighting, because like if you don't run fast enough, you will not do damages. Right? Imagine if you have your Alex, if you have your commander running on the field, and then you want to attack on some marches, but your commander too slow. Then how can you attack on the marches? Or like in the motherboard situation, when you're attacking on a target, and if that target is faster than you and they pull back, then you have to chase after that target, and then you like the distance between your march and that target march gonna be like this one right here, and you cannot attack on that march. You just gotta keep following that marches, and you cannot cast your active skill. You cannot trigger some of the effect that you need to attack on the target. Okay, so that is one of the very, very important thing, right? A lot of people don't take like mobility very seriously. Like same thing for me as well, right? At the beginning of the game, I kind of like neglecting on the mobility. I don't care too much about the mobility. I care more about the commanders with stat increase. But like as I play more and more, I can feel the importance of the mobility. Mobility is very, very important for any commander in the game, and especially for Archivist as well. So like for all of the infantry commanders, Alex is definitely S tier when it comes to mobility. He can be even faster than some of the other commander as well, like cavalry commander. So another S tier here, okay? Another S tier here when it comes to mobility, okay? So DPS, so we got DPS, utility, tankiness, and mobility. The last one we have expertise, right? When it comes to expertise, it's just like a question of like yes or no. Should you expertise it commander or not? So to answer this question, right, we have to go back into the game again, and we have to see like what does the expertise bring to the team. What does the expertise can do for Alex, right? So like the expertise is that debuff you have on the 3 marches, right? So like when Alex casting his active skill, up to 3 enemy marches going to get debuff, and they're going to get 30% increased damage, right? 30% increased damage is a lot in a circular area. So his expertise work extremely well in a murderboard situation, right? Open field, like any of your marches, not just your march, your ally marches as well, also getting that 30% damage increase. So like a must have expertise, and probably in my opinion still one of the strongest expertise skill in the game. Right, not many commanders that can have the expertise skills that can increase 30% damage for 3 seconds, 4 seconds, right? 4 seconds here, that like 3 marches from the enemy going to get that 30% increased damage. A very, very good debuff here, guys. So with that being said, right, with expertise, it's definitely a yes, right? You gotta expertise Alex, okay? So this is the ratings that I have for him, okay? DPS S tier, right? Very, very high attack, very, very high damage, right? 1700 damage is pretty good. Utility is also S tier just because of his expertise. 30% damage increase. Tankiness is B tier. Mobility is S tier because he is still the fastest infantry commander as of this moment. And expertise, 100%. Alright, so let's go back into the game here. And I'm going to show you guys the talent tree that you could be using for Alex. So this is currently the talent tree that I'm using for Alex here. If you're using him as primary, if you're using Alex as secondary, you don't have to worry about his talent tree, okay? So like, most of the time you're going to see people using Alex with Hero, Alex with Charmatel, Alex with YSG, Alex with Sanzu as well, right? There are a lot of commanders you can pair with Alex. So here is the talent tree that you're gonna use if you want to use Alex primary. so some of the commander pairings that you can use with Alex, right? If you want to use Alex primary, you're gonna use Alex with where is my Alex at? Alex, yeah. So you're gonna use Alex with YSG, right? Alex YSG, Alex Sunzu, Alex Mermaid can work nowadays as well. Alex Sunzu is for like a season 1, kind of. Alex and Hero, right? Not many commander pair you can pair with Alex. For secondary commander, you can also run Grand Alex. A lot of people are running Grand Alex. You can also run like Hero and Alex as well if you prefer skilled hand tree over attack hand tree for open field. Okay. So Alex is a must expertise commander, right? But again, right, to expertise a commanders, it costs a lot of like universal sculpture. So sometimes you might consider not expertise a commander or take your time with that commander. So like, let's say if you cannot afford to expertise Alex right away, when can you start using Alex, right? Which is what I call a minimal requirement for you to use a commander. So for Alex, you want to use him at least at 5, 5, 5, 1, okay? So you definitely need to work on his like 3 of his skill, okay? Before you can start using him like effectively on the open field. Right? You need his first skill, second skill, and third skill. His 4 skill you can just leave it at 1 and slowly working his way up, and then get his expertise, right? Even though his expertise is a must-have, but like depend on which KvK you are in, you might consider to kind of like either work on other commander first or focusing on him to get his expertise. But as of 2022, Alex expertise is still very good and worth getting. Okay, guys. So yeah, right. Let me know if you guys have any other question for Alex in the comment section, and I will try to answer them. And I will also create a channel on my Discord as well, dedicated to Alex. So I'm gonna putting all of the questions that you guys post in the video in that channel as well. Right, a good question, good relevant question. I'm gonna be putting that on my channel in my Discord server. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching the videos, and I'll talk to you again. Peace.